finance, risk compliance, and financial crime.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
FINCRIME Prevention Awards.
My name is Professor Ehi Eric Esomeme. I'm your moderator for today for this historic event that is due to be filled with insightful different types of knowledge that is going to be shared. When you look at the panelists and the distinguished speakers, it's enormous and huge, and there's no way that you're not going to leave here without getting so much knowledge and gaining a lot of insights today. So it's really a huge event, and I'm so happy to be part of this historic event. And I'm so happy to have you all here. A big thank you for taking your time out to come and be part of this. We'll ensure that we don't take so much time to be able to start. Now, just going with the regular structure will be the national anthem from the DJ so that we can start the session immediately. Thank you very much. So we can be upstanding to get the national anthem of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians old and proud to serve our sovereign fatherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace or battle honored, and in contest gain. Hang on to our children, a banner without stain. O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build our nation where no man is oppressed. And so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, the DJ. Thank you for everyone. Can be seated. Just moving to the next line without wasting so much of your time is to move to the next session of introducing the chairman of the host of this event. I mean, first of all, we need to really give it to the Morgans. When you hear about the Morgans, you hear about consistency, you hear about insightful discussions, trends, emerging trends, future trends in the scope of the financial industry when it comes to mitigating the risk of financial crime compliance. They've been doing it from the beginning, from the genesis, and they are still doing it. And they are doing it very, very well with very insightful summits and also award ceremonies that actually able to give to people that who have done so well in the regulatory compliance landscape. So because of that, I feel honored to be able to introduce Dr. Felicio Amusa, the chairman of the Morgans, to give his welcome address. You're welcome to come and do that. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Another year today. Thank you so much for this wonderful time with you, everyone, this morning. It's an honor to have you all here today. 4 years ago, this initiative started, and this place was where we started the first one, the second one, the third one was somewhere in Ikeja, and now we are back at this venue. This year, a lot of things are happening this year, and we believe that governance and compliance and financial crime prevention should be at the very forefront of not just now, but also the future. And that is why we have carefully went straight to the market and looked for individuals, experts that can help us to navigate through the themes of this year event. I must tell you, you are in for an amazing time. As all our speakers, all our panel or panelists will be sharing from their industry experience, please take notes. And we're just not saying that you take notes for taking notes' sake. When you get back to your individual bless you.
Thank you very much for the welcome address. And without wasting so much time, we're moving to the first keynote speaker to deliver the topic of the day, which, if you look at the theme of today's summit, what has been going on now in the financial landscape, we are well aware there's been a shift. The traditional modus operandi moving to the digital landscape. And so the discussions that you're going to get from the speakers and afterwards from the panel sessions will be within that theme. And it's very, very, very critical at this moment. And aside from that, being on the digital landscape comes with immense threats, whether from the angle of financial crime. And because of this, it's very important to get and be able to find the right solutions, whether it's in terms of artificial intelligence and machine learning enabled systems, and sometimes we see a hybrid approach to compliance. And this is what you're going to be getting from a number of the speakers who are going to bring in their practical experience and to be able to share it with us. And we just encourage that you be able to take so much from them. For question and answers, there will be question and answer session. So do right to note it down. If you have any questions to ask them, there will be a session after which the keynote speakers have addressed us. So the first from Mr. Patterson Bonigal, he's the president of the Compliance Institute of Nigeria. I'm sure everyone will know about the Compliance Institute. They are actually number one when it comes to being able to ensure for compliance, when it comes to doing the right certifications. They've taken it to the next level. And we have the president right here to give us the first topic for discussion. And I feel honored and privileged to be able to invite him to give us this remarkable and insightful discussion for this particular topic. He has a ready-made presentation. So from the side of the IT team, please get his thing on the screen. You can see it right here from it before. It is immense, with what he has been able to do and achieve, being the former Group Chief Conduct and Compliance Officer of Access Bank PLC, and presently the president of the Compliance Institute of Nigeria, one of the top 3 banks in Nigeria, with presence in 13, thank you very much, with presence in 13 countries in Africa, Europe, Middle East, and Asia. He has over 29 years of banking experience, with 16 years in anti-money laundering, regulatory compliance, internal controls, financial controls, and audits in Access Bank and Citibank Nigeria, and also the BSc in Accounting, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Executive MBA, Port Harcourt, Nigeria, and alumnus of the INSED, Harvard Business School, and IMD executive programs, currently the president, as we said before, of Compliance Institute, and being involved in also a lot of international, when it comes to the global impact, he has that, being there in terms of the financial industry. So it's a real pleasure to welcome you to deliver your keynote in terms of the topic for discussion. Thank you very much.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for having me, Morgans, for giving me the opportunity to be your first speaker, keynote speaker today. This is a very detailed presentation, but I'm going to try to streamline it. I thought I'd be able to control the slides myself, but unfortunately I cannot, so I'll just go with the flow. So can you move the next slide, please? Okay, I've already been introduced, but just make some few corrections. The first introduction was a bit stale. I think that must have been like some 4 years ago. No, 2.5 years ago. So I'm actually the managing director of Patterson Consulting, which is a firm I started after I retired from Access Bank. But I had spent 31 years in banking, and currently, before now, I'm also the president of the Compliance Officers Forum for GABA member states, and I'm currently running my own firm. But I'd like to start. Can you go to the next slide, please? Oh. Okay, so next slide, please. Okay, I'd like to start its keynote address by making reference to Peter Drucker, because what we're talking about here is the future. And Peter Drucker said the best way to predict the future is to create it. So we are here. Okay. So we are here to create the future. And that's what we're going to try to do. So what is financial crime? Financial crime basically is all the illicit activities, including fraud, money laundering, terrorism financing, cyber, hacking and things like that. And to put it in proper perspective, it's a serious problem because even the United Nations, through the UNODC, has said over 800 billion to $2 trillion worth of illicit funds today are flowing through the system. They've also been confirmed even by the UNTAD, who also confirmed the same thing for Africa, that about 3.7% of the Africa's GDP actually are in illicit funds. Our own EFCC here, which is the Economic Financial Crimes Commission, also have told us that they have actually had about 3,175 convictions on money laundering related issues, and have recovered about 156 billion naira just between May last year and this year alone. So it's a bit a serious issue, which I'm sure that's the reason we are all gathered here. So why is it important to adopt preventive measures, therefore, to tackle financial crime, particularly applying technology? Because it's an evolving landscape. The threats are becoming more real and increasing in terms of intensity. New methods are coming up as new technology is coming up to provide more enhanced intermediation in the financial system. And that is how new trends in financial crimes are also evolving. And now it is more real-time detections are required, because we have been told that whether you like it or not, there'll be fraud, right? So if there'll be fraud, it means you need to make sure that you are able to put things in place that can make you quickly detect them when they happen, and so you can quickly recover. So detection and real-time detection has become a major trend also today. And there's also enhanced and increased efficiency, in terms of the volume of and the need to have high accuracy in reducing the error rates that we have in processing transactions today, particularly on the digital platforms, not with the large and increasing number of fintechs that we now see all over the place. So customer trust and regulatory compliance is also a major preventive measure that we are seeing trending today, because the starting point for every activity today is good compliance and good ethics and our ability into the future. Next slide too. Next slide, please. Maybe I should use this. Next slide. So the evolving landscape for crime, go to the next slide, actually shows significant increase and advancement in technology and the use of technology. So we have seen such sophisticated uses in the areas of advanced, tactics to match up with the advanced tactics that criminals have been putting in place today. We see large number of automated systems being hacked. Phishing has increased. Identity theft is now a very common thing, and we have also seen a significant amount of cross-border activity. And trust me, the criminals, they move faster than even the normal businesses because they don't have boundaries. So cross-border activities has also increased, and because criminals now find it easy to move transactions quickly between borders. With fintech today, within seconds, funds that are moved in Lagos can get to Dubai, UK, Russia the same day. So it makes cross-border capabilities have made it easier for even criminals to continue with financial crimes. Also, issues around anonymity. The technology has made it so easy for people to do things without being discovered. So there is no much information about senders and receivers, and in fact, tools have been designed to deliberately hide and mask people who are doing financial transactions, and that's making it more difficult for us. Next slide. And there have been a shift towards digital platforms, therefore, to address particularly the issues around cryptocurrencies. And why is this so? Because we have seen an increased use of digital platforms through the use of e-wallets and peer-to-peer transactions by criminals, particularly in developing countries like Nigeria. When some countries that have been significantly banned by the FATF and other sanctions, they prefer to use developing countries like in Africa to do a lot of their peer-to-peer transactions where there are no regulations. So cryptocurrency has also become a major financial crime tool, which offers benefits for, typically low, because in cryptocurrency, the benefits you have like this is that there's low cost, so it's very attractive to people who use them, particularly in the Gen Zs and the Gen X. They use that a lot because of the speed involved and because of the anonymity. And there's also the emerging risk of the use of DEFIs. Now, DEFIs have become so popular, but again, because of the speed and the ease with which to settle each other within the DFIs, criminals have also found it very useful to enable them move funds easily amongst themselves. Next slide, please. So what's the impact of COVID? You all agree with me that when COVID came, we were not prepared for it. But the way we responded, particularly from the technological side, was very swift. For many of us today, new jobs have been created because of COVID from the technology perspective. So we can see the increased cybercrime during COVID. However, that surge, according to Interpol and Europe, brought a lot of phishing, ransomware, and all of that. It also brought a lot of pandemic-related scams. I'm sure you remember the scam, the 4 Nigerian guys who scammed a supply chain, trying to move COVID materials, So, people become so very vulnerable at that period because people were just trying to solve the COVID problem. And as a result of that, a lot of people dropped their guards. And the crime rates, the pandemic created a lot of crime incidents. There was also a rise in money laundering because illicit funds were now moved, easily during the pandemic period. Invoices can easily have been, manipulated, and opportunities for for criminals to increase their activities also increased because of the weakened controls. In fact, so many people were taken advantage of. I know of a particular incident where a retiree lost all his retirement pensions during the COVID, just by a simple call from somebody, and he gave out his code. And the old man came to the banking hall crying that they took all his money. I mean, it was a bad time, very, very bad time for financial crime during COVID. Next slide. Next slide. So there are notable cases. Don't want to make. I already mentioned some. Next slide. I already mentioned some already in Africa. Move on. And international standards are not sleeping. They are awake, and they are very conscious of the advent of technology and its impact on financial crime. So Financial Action Task Force is usually called FATF. It's a global standard setter when it comes to financial crimes, particularly anti-money laundering, terrorism financing, and proliferation. And they have intervened in several ways. They develop policies and provide support by doing what they call mutual evaluation of countries to see how well countries are complying with the requirements, the 40 recommendations that they have doled out there. And they do this from time to time, and they shame countries that are not doing well. All of this, they have also, in all of this, they have also come up with recommendations, especially as relates to digital platforms and their use for financial crimes. Recommendation 15, new technologies, and recommendation 16 on wire transfers. And they have come up even with more sophisticated recommendations in what they call travel rules, particularly to help in the area of removing anonymity in cryptocurrency-related transactions. Now, all of these interventions by FATF have actually helped to bring some sanity, and they have also, in the travel rules, they have also come up with recommendations to government authorities on how to ensure they regulate virtual asset service providers, and that has helped to bring down the criminal tendencies we see that cryptocurrencies have been applied to. Next slide. So in Nigeria, we have several regulators that have intervened also, although there is hiccups here and there. We are not too, some organizations are just not too ready to take on the bull by the horn. Central Bank initially came up, they banned cryptocurrency intermediation within the financial, not within the banking system, and then came back and removed that ban and came up with a guideline to banks on how to bank virtual asset service providers. Unfortunately, the virtual asset service providers themselves are not regulated. So even the banks, even with the central bank intervention, are not able to bank these virtual asset service providers because they are afraid, because the virtual service providers are not themselves, regulated. Now, SEC came in, and I think SEC is actually doing a lot more compared to the central bank. They instituted some structures to deal with cryptocurrency regulation, and they came up with a guidance for virtual asset service providers, which is undergoing some sort of review now. I don't know if it's been approved yet, but right now they have created a sandbox where virtual asset service providers are now being incubated to enable them to be, to be approved. And I think they have approved 2 local companies for that service, but it's still in the infancy stage. NICOM, the NFIO, and the SCUMO are doing their own bit, especially the SCUMO that has been doing a lot to take care of issues around the small designated non-financial businesses. The FIU has also restructured and are positioning themselves more technologically now inclined to deal with all the typologies that they've seen around the use of technology in fighting financial crime. Next slide, please. So we have seen a couple of improvements in our laws too. Recently, we had the Money Laundering Prohibition and the Prevention Act, reviewed in 2022, where several sections have been put in place to ensure that additional measures are taken to improve the controls to fight financial crimes. Next slide. There are also challenges in all of these things that we've been talking about. Significant challenges for that matter. For example, there's the complexity and the volume of regulations that are out there, particularly as it relates to cross-border differentiations or differences between countries when it comes to regulation on AML CFT is significant. So when you, especially for a country like Nigeria, where we now have banks that are beginning to grow and go into other regions in Africa. In West Africa, for example, if you go to Ghana, Liberia, Gambia, you see a lot of Nigerian banks. So cross-border activities have increased. And with that, you see people going into operate in regions where there is conflicts in the type of regulations and the extent of regulation on financial crime. And so that is a major challenge. The other challenge we also see is there's also been increase in the use of new technologies, and people are introducing things that can enable them evade the rules that have already been put in place. And it's becoming more expensive to acquire these tools that can help to detect such financial crime activities. I was just discussing with one of the panelists this afternoon that there was need for us, therefore, to see how we can help particularly small companies who may not be able to afford the cost of these technological tools in the fight against financial crime, to see how they can have a community approach to actually be able to apply themselves to meet these cost issues that relates to complying with financial crime control measures. Another challenge that we have here is the push back and forth as a result of privacy. In the course of fighting financial crime, a lot of information is obtained, and there is this pushback sometimes from privacy issues. People don't want to give information, so that could be a major challenge in fighting, because if you want to fight financial crime through technology, you need a lot of data, and your access to data may be impeded because of privacy issues. And then, of course, I've talked about the high constraint, of course, ownership structures. A major problem today is that criminals go free because sometimes some of them deliberately go into crime, get the criminal money, the profit from the crime, and then they are able to disguise and hide this proceeds through corporate structures, corporate ownership structures. Anytime they finish serving their penalties or their jail times, they come back and enjoy the proceeds of their crime. So that is the reason why crime will not end. So if we want to make crime to end, it means we need to deal with the issue of corporate structures and beneficial ownership structures. And to achieve that, we need technology. For you to be able to see a network and a linkage between persons and ownership to certain properties globally, you will need a lot of technology to achieve that. We've tried in Nigeria. We have what they call, I think the CAC had come up with PSC, Person of Significant Control, but that database is still very in its infant stage. I don't think it has been properly developed. Next slide. So there is need for a risk-based approach to address the strategies we need to deal with financial crimes from a technological perspective. We need to focus on the high-risk areas and devote the little resources we have to deal with these areas that it hits us most, And then we also need to be able to adapt easily to the threats that we face every day, regular threats that are coming up and emerging issues that are coming up from time to time. We need to be more proactive and make sure we use our resources to address the specific technological needs that will meet the basic real threats that we have. Like I said, it's very expensive. Technology to be deployed in Nigeria here requires a lot of FX inputs, and not many. Of course, we can all see how our FX rate is galloping every day. Even IT companies that want to sell from abroad, who want to sell their equipment here, they are being told to sell in naira. Nobody wants to pay you in dollars anymore. So we need to also be able to align regulatory expectations from our regulators. We need a lot of support from regulators to be able to achieve any plans we have to streamline compliance capabilities to meet the trends that technology is taking us into financial crimes threats. Next slide. So what's the future looking like? Next slide. We are looking at the importance of fostering a compliance-oriented culture in organizations. That is the starting point. When we say there is compliance, compliance is not that there's a compliance department. Compliance means each and every person in the organization, from the board chairman to the tea girl to the security man, all understand their compliance obligations. They don't just understand it, they buy into it. They don't just buy into it, they do everything they can in the course of their work to make sure that they comply with the requirements of laws and regulations and guidelines on the work they do. That is the meaning of compliance. Therefore, for us to be able to drive any meaningful change and to address financial crime through technology, we need to first of all get people to comply and create a culture of compliance. And that is why in the future, we need to see compliance embedded as a core value. Nobody should be forced to comply. Compliance should be in everybody's to do as we do our business. And then they should encourage ethical behavior and reporting. There should be proper tone at the top. Leadership role is key in terms of showing commitment. We should get to a stage where leaders actually do walk their talk when it comes to compliance. They should start from the top and then they should continue training. Training and awareness is very key. There's a lot of us in the compliance industry today, particularly the chief compliance officers, who are not tech savvy. So a lot of training needs to be done to ensure that we increase the number of persons in the compliance area that are tech savvy. You cannot do compliance today without technology. That's the truth. No matter how, even if for small companies even, you need some level of knowledge. So continuous training is very important. Next slide. So the strategies for integrating technology into compliance to enable the compliance function to be more effective and efficient in driving anti-financial crime has to leverage on the following. One, artificial intelligence. Today, a lot of hard work that we do in compliance has been taken over by intelligence, and that is the only way to go now. So if you are working with any tool today and you don't have artificial intelligence embedded in it, you are living in the past. This is the way forward. And then automation of transaction monitoring and KYC. In fact, the way KYC should be running now, we should have a central KYC database in the country. The idea where a customer will have to go and provide the same information to different banks when they open accounts, it's a story of the past. We should have situations where we have a central database. The starting point is the government, actually, because we need to first of all harmonize the BVN, the NIN, the driver's license, the international passport. Ghana has achieved it. They have NIN, which is linked up. Nigeria, we are still strong. I remember as far back as 2015, Buhari had given that order, go and harmonize our database. And they spent huge billions of naira. Today, we are still there. We have not moved. So until we achieve that, and if we do achieve that, then eKYC, where we have a central base where if you have an account in a bank, all you just need to do if you want to open a fresh account is go with your NIN. And then data is pulled from the sources where this data is sitting centrally. And if you want to change your data, you don't have to go to all the 10 banks where you have accounts. You change your data from one source. And if you want to onboard a customer, even a corporate customer, you should be able to sit in the comfort of your office, put just your RC number of your company, pull data from the CAC database, and populate your form. And validate your NIN, your BIM, everything in one go. See, these are the things. The criminals use these systems better than us because they don't have restrictions. But we have to then start looking for regulatory, approvals here and there. And in most cases, the reason why we can't harmonize is corruption. Because most government institutions want to hold their budget. Nobody wants to give away their budget. They tell you we have our own system, So we are all running silos. NIMSI has its own database. FRS has its own database. VVN has its own database. So somebody who is a maker this morning, tomorrow can be, in the evening can be Chuku, can be Abubakar in Nigeria. That is why it's very difficult to achieve a centralized KYC. So we should work on that. We should use blockchain. Incidentally, we have a blockchain policy in Nigeria. We should use blockchain and distributed ledger systems to ensure that we have secured data and secure platforms, where the truth can never change. And then we can also use real-time data analytics for reporting and biometrics and biometrics and multi-factor authentication is very key. I'm sure if I do a survey here, there's hardly anybody here who has not been hacked on WhatsApp or Facebook, or attempted to have been hacked on WhatsApp or Facebook. Now, application of multi-factor authentication and biometrics will help save a lot of all of these things, you know. So, next slide. So, the future trends is that we are predicting financial crime methodologies and prevention strategies will move a step ahead. That is, if we get our acts together and get support from government. And so we expect to see adoption of DFIs, rise of quantum computing, you know, it's a critical area that's going to even make life a little bit more difficult if we don't deal with it. There's going to be increased focus on behavioral analysis and link analysis. When you do your monitoring, you want to be able to see all the connecting links from a particular person. We will see more of that. We'll see more of expansion of regulation, sandbox like the SEC has started doing now. And then, of course, there will be more need for collaboration, global collaboration and sharing of information is very key. In fact, there's a project going on now, a public-private partnership project, where there's data sharing platforms for financial institutions within West Africa being promoted by GIABA, which is a FATF-style body. Next slide. So, key takeaways: we need to foster a strong compliance-oriented culture. Like I said, leverage advanced technology in future if we want to fight financial crime. We have to prepare for future trends. We shouldn't be lacking behind the fraudsters, the criminals. We should be a step ahead of them, and then we should embrace the risk-based approach to make it easy for us to adopt technology. So we treat the risks that are very critical to our systems for efficiency. Next slide. So what are we expected to do when we leave here? We need to all go back and recalibrate our budgets to invest in the next gen technology to be able to match up with what the criminals are doing. Criminals have a free activity. They go into the dark web anytime they like. They don't have restrictions. But we have to make conscious efforts to invest in technology. You know, implement AI, machine learning, blockchain, you know, for detection. Cultivate the compliance culture. No matter how much technology you put in place, the ethics of doing the right thing and not being corrupt is the bottom line. If you don't get it right there, no amount of technology can help you fight financial crime. The first thing is ethics, good compliance culture within an organization is very key. And then we should also adopt a risk-based approach, like I said, and then ensure that we strengthen cooperation and collaboration and sharing of information. And I'm sure with this, we will get it all right. Next slide. So, just to end, I'd like to make this quote here from an anonymous person. He said, the only way to win the battle against financial crime is to stay a step ahead. Let me just add at the end, ahead of the criminals. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to Mr. Patterson for this very insightful topic presentation at a time when things are really moving to the digital space, at a time when the rise of deepfake technology with artificial intelligence is becoming a norm. There's no doubt that we've been able to get tremendous insights about what is that. If you have your questions, you can put them together. There will be a question and answer session, and our distinguished speakers are all available to be able to answer all those questions during the question and answer session. I'm sure you had an amazing time there. So once again, please give a round of applause for our distinguished speaker for the very well insightful presentation. We were able to merge and discuss the challenges when it comes to compliance and how we can navigate through those challenges using the likes of artificial intelligence and also the internal controls of policies, procedures, processes, enhanced practices that have to be adopted from time to time to ensure that we get ahead of those criminals. Now, to move to the next one, we have our second keynote speaker, Mrs. Esosa Balogun. IT team, we can put up a profile. She's the General Manager, Risk Management at MTN Nigeria Communications PLC. And we can see it very, very terrific profile and very insightful, a certified professional with extensive experience in the areas of enterprise risk management, internal audits, internal control, strategy, finance, compliance, and corporate governance. She has over 15 years experience in delivering risk solutions such as design and implementation of enterprise risk management frameworks, internal audits, transformation, risk assessments, internal control assessments, accounting advisory, corporate governance, and board advisory services. So she has so much extensive knowledge and experience in this particular area. At the time, we've been able to hear from Mr. Patterson, who has given us great insight into that. Now, we want to get other insights, especially from the telecommunications sector. This presentation and summit is about go into diverse sectors so that we have diverse knowledge and unique experiences that will be shared today. So I'd like to welcome to this podium to deliver her presentation Mrs. Esoso Balogun, the General Manager, Risk Management at MTN Nigeria Communications PLC. It's a great honor to have you here. Yeah, so 20 minutes, please. Thank you.
Or less. Good morning, everyone. So I had an agenda with me that earmarked me for much later in the evening or in the afternoon. So I was very relaxed when Dr. Patterson was speaking. I was not ready to stand up at all. So when Prof said, keynote speaker, Esosa, it's like when you've been making noise in class and the teacher calls upon you to answer a question. That's what just happened to me. Thank you so much, the Morgans, Dr. Folusho and team, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, everyone in attendance. It's a great honor to be here. I hope I'm saying it right when I'm calling you Dr. Patterson, sir. Not yet. Very soon. Maybe I'm prophesying. I thought your presentation was truly, really very insightful. And I wish we had more time to actually get into it because it was really loaded. And what I also found out in your presentation was that you are very much abreast as to what's currently going on, what actions we are taking, what implementation plans there are, not only in Nigeria but across various jurisdictions. So this is not me trying to hype you, sir, but well done, and thank you very much. My presentation is not yet there, but I have a copy with me. I'm supposed to speak on the very easy part. My job here is very simple. My topic is cross-sector collaboration, ensuring global compliance and risk mitigation. Mr. Patterson spoke extensively on collaboration because truly we can't do this alone. We can't sit in one sector and say you have all of the solution. Or you can't sit within Nigeria and say you have it seated here. Or in another climate and you say, he talked about the speed at which these things happen. Even in Nigeria, the speed at which it happened. I'll give you a very good example. And it happened to my brother. And this gist is less than 1 week old. He's been over 20 years in the financial services industry. He's a seasoned banker. So when you're talking about someone who is used to scam and scammers, he's that one person. On this fateful day, he had seen his colleague and they had seen that morning and exchanged pleasantries. He was using the restroom and he got a message saying, Pali, and that's how they address each other. So that's to show you the sophistication and the evolution of crime. And the guy said, Pali, I beg, send me 250K first. I'll sort you out later in the day. Without thinking, he did it. And maybe if he were in a more relaxed, professional, in a state where he was processing information clearly, he would have realized that there was something that missed. And he sent it. And I think the scammer realized that, oh, that was fast. Then he sent another message that, oh, please add another 750K. Oh, that's when he was put on inquiry. And he said, hold on, what's going on here? So he was trying to stall. and he said, oh, just wait, I'm trying to do some transfers. While he was trying to stall, what he was trying to do was to get his guys to check where the money has gone to, where it has gone to, and try to stop that movement. He was too slow. I'm talking about a conversation of minutes. It was that fast. The information had moved from a commercial bank in Nigeria to one of the fintechs, to another of the fintechs, to a third of the fintech. He couldn't stop his 250,000 naira, and it was gone. So whilst we talk about knowledge sharing, while we talk about awareness and training and being very sensitive to how financial crime is perpetrated, there is the need for collaboration. There is the need for us to work in harmony. So it's not only going to sit within the commercial banks to say, if it happens between GT Bank and Zenith Bank, maybe we can do something about it. What if it has gotten to OPay? It's moving from Fed to Money Point to Palm Pay, and it's out of Nigeria in minutes. So there is the need for cross-sectoral collaboration. There is the need for cross-border collaboration for crime prevention to be relevant. I still do not have my slides, so I'll move on. Oh, it's here. Thank you. Please just... I thought to start with some statistics. Next slide, please. Yeah. That what we face is very complex. Our landscape is complex. CBN and SEC are fighting with the corporates. EFCC convictions in 2023 alone, 80%. Increase in EFCC's annual conviction in a 4-year tenure is grown over 234%. Increase in interest rates between 2020 and 2024 is 137%. I threw that in to give you a sense of how our macroeconomic state in our country is there. There is continued increase in fuel price rates. There's continued increase in interest rates. There's continued increase in unemployment rates. There's continued increase in inflation rates. Everyone is feeling it, and when opportunities do not abound, people become very creative. And when people become very creative, they are smart in perpetrating crime. That's why we cannot fold our arms. The expectation, post this conference is that we take learnings, we put together what's called like a communique of ideas that we can communicate to whether the public sector, whether some of government agencies on implement or of recommendations, that we can implement. So there's a global risk and compliance challenge, and it affects everyone. It's affecting everyone in this room. And that's why the call for collaboration cannot be overemphasized. If you move on to the next slide, I put 2 case studies. There's one in the financial services industry. Maybe I should have left that because Mr. Patterson did great justice to financial services. But it's just to say how some organizations have collaborated and worked together and they got better. My first case study speaks to JP Morgan and the FireEye and Lucidity handshake. So JP Morgan had a problem. They had been slammed with serious fine. It was a legal penalty related to anti-money laundering. They had been subjected to data breach, and it had affected over 90 of their servers, and it had affected over 83 million accounts of their customers. There was a problem. So how were they supposed to solve it? So they liaised with Lucidity. Lucidity had an AI-powered platform to support them in monitoring transactions and in analyzing patterns. And when you're monitoring transactions and analyzing patterns, it helps you to generate learnings that can help you proactively be in compliance. And what that did was that it helped to strengthen their compliance environment. Bottom line, one sector can't do it alone. One organization can't do it alone. If we go on to the next slide, is another case study within our climb. I'll speak to what I have on the slide, and I'll speak to what I wrote down post Mr. Patterson's keynote speech. So what I have here is how telcos and law enforcement work hand in hand. Nigeria is a sovereign, and sometimes, all the time, when a sovereign, when the country requires information, regardless of the organization, regardless of the industry, if it's something for national peace, if it's something for security, every industry would support it. Now, when law enforcement agencies need to conduct high-profile investigations or anything they need to do, they can't do it on their own. EFCC cannot investigate an incident unilaterally. They would need support from the banks. They would need support from telcos as well. That is the handshake. However, there is a structure to it. For example, if someone has perpetrated a financial crime and they need information as to what has this person, telecommunication patterns, phone calls, engagements, what has it been in the last one month? Not any law enforcement agency would walk into a telecommunications organization and say, show me a call log. It's not going to happen. There's a structure. There is a process. There is a format. There is a way you request it. There's the who can even request it. There is the how you will request it. And there's the way and manner we will provide the information, because, and I think Mr. Patterson mentioned it as well, we're in the era of data privacy and data protection. The customer will tell you, I didn't give you consent to share that information. I did not sign, and that is also very important. So that's why there is regulation. There's a legal framework. There's the way and how it can be done. And that's what we continue to hammer on. But just to mention on this slide that is the handshake, that even government parastatals, government agencies can't do it on their own. They work hand in hand with organizations to get the work done. Ultimately, it's for the good of everyone concerned. That was what I had on the slide. What I wrote down post Mr. Patterson's comment, I found it very instructive, and I thought, why have we not thought of this? Because it's very frustrating. I have tried to open 2 bank accounts in the past 1 month. Stanbic IBTC, Standard Chartered Bank, the same information. The same information. Give me your utility bill. Give me your NIN. Give me your, and we're saying, why the duplication? It's even less work for everybody else. Can we not have a central database, to be leveraged by all government agencies, whether it's NIMC for NIN, whether it's CBN for BVN, whether it's FRS for tax identification number? I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's sounding so simple now, but implementation is key. So bottom line, collaboration is very important. And thank you for being very proactive to go to the next slide. Why should we collaborate? Operating in isolation puts us at a disadvantage. There's a complexity of regulation. Financial services has its regulation, telco has its regulation, NCC is very fierce. And can be fiercer. Oil and gas isn't smiling. So regulation is complex, and everyone needs to draw from everybody else for the work to get easier. So collaboration enables us to pull together our knowledge, share resources, and ultimately save time. So shared knowledge is essential, resource efficiency is better deployed, harmonization of standards. And that's, whilst harmonization of standards is good, I think there's also a place for us to be bespoke. A lot of times, most of the standards we now employ in Nigeria were inherited because we are developing. Now, some of those regulations are suitable for some clients are not necessarily relevant for us, you see. Even in Africa, there are some African countries that cannot use the same regulation. So there's a place for the world, there's a place for EU, there's a place for AU, there's a place for ECOWAS, and there's a place for Nigeria. So it is that thinking for us to, yes, streamline regulation, ensure that there's a framework guiding how we do things, but let's also look internally and see what is suitable for our local terrain and what is reflective of our reality and how we do things. I'll go on to the next slide, how to achieve effective collaboration. We should identify our goals, our common goals and challenges. We should create our formalized governance structures. Training and knowledge transfer is very important. Leveraging technology, also very important. I'll tie it into collaboration, and I'll give you an example here. With telecommunications, when you go out to get a SIM card and you want to register to have a phone number, every agent you see out there is not necessarily an employee of MTN, Airtel, Glo, or 9Mobile. Some of them are agents of ours. But in the face of the law, we are blind to that. You are an agent of mine. You are seen as an extension of me out there. So you do the right, you do the wrong. The consequences are mine. Now, the government says, going forward, you can't have more than 4 lines attached to your NIN going forward. So it's simple. So if you go into an agent's shop or store or location, you can't register more than 4 lines. You go in there, you register 1 line. But remember, he's seen you, he has seen he's engaged you. What's your name? You tell him, what's your surname? What's your date of birth? Your biometric. You go away with 1 SIM. But there are some fraudulent agents that register more than 1 SIM against your NIN. So in the event that something happens and that line, which they have sold at a premium, without your knowledge, you know, it's utilized for fraudulent activities, will come to you, you know, because that's what we have in our database. That you, beautiful lady in red, you have registered 3 additional SIMs against your name, and it has been utilized for something devious. What do we do? And that's where leveraging technology comes in, and that's where cross-collaboration is very useful. What do? We leverage technology to do what we call eyeballing. We're checking. How did you register 4 people in quick succession within 20 minutes? It's not possible. So you check that and you flag that. Because you flag that, you are going to check, what's the detail for these 4 SIMs, these 4 registrations that you did within 20 minutes? I'll see Esosa Balogun, Esosa Bal, Esosa B, Esosa 4. Then I'll see number 1, Oriental Way. Is there Oriental Way? But it's an address, you know, it's an address. So that's where you see creativity and negative creativity now. So you flag that. But what has collaboration done? We have done it in such a way that when we flag those unscrupulous agents, you flag them. I'm flagging you, I'm prosecuting you. Unfortunately, that's a conversation for another day because our judicial system is not much because they get released after a few days. They are prosecuted. Then I blacklist you. I'm taking you out of the network. I'm not doing any business with you. But we didn't realize that. It's like, story for another day. You leave me, I go elsewhere. I'm becoming an agent for somebody else. And we said, you know what, we'll take it a step further. And that's where cross-organizational collaboration works. And we said, you know what, we are taking you out completely. So if you're blacklisted with us, you are blacklisted with the reds and with the greens. NCC blacklists you totally. And that's what works. Well, yeah, it's not 100% gone, but at least it's some steps in the right direction. If we have a central database, for example, that has my whole entirety in it, everything about me, my home address, they verified me. If I perpetrate a crime with a bank or with a fintech or with a manufacturing company, I'm just thinking, you know, central information. You are blacklisted everywhere. Your footprints, your digital part, they're noted. And you know, you're taken completely out. That's consequence management. And it serves as deterrent, you know, for perpetration of crime. My sincere apologies. I know I said I was going to do less, but I think I'm taking too much time. If you move on to the next slide very quickly, thank you. So we check AI. And I know Professor Ehi plans to do some detailed discussion on AI. AI is great. Forgive me, AI is a beast. I was asked to write something. It was a statement of purpose. I was like, huh, which one is statement of purpose? Then I just said, statement of purpose, write a statement of purpose for this organization. My goodness. My goodness. I wouldn't have written it that well. It was perfect. But the bad part was that there had been strict instructions that do not leverage AI, ChatGPT, or any such things for whatever you're going to write. AI is great. It can also be not great. For example, I was going to buy a plane ticket, and I was traveling from here to here, and they said, oh, 2 seats left. Two seats left. I was like, oh, I wasn't even going to pay then. But when I saw 2 seats left, it looked like, hey, hurry up. And I bought it. And I didn't even know that AI had influenced my buying decision. Until I sat in a training program, a young man, very good in data privacy related speeches, mentioned that they check your buying patterns, they check where you're going, we're checking your footprints, and we're pushing to you in an urgent manner to get you to do some things. And the thinking is that, was that ethical? Was that ethical? You know, I don't know. But that's what we're faced with, and that's what AI speaks to. So as we continue to have these conversations as to how we leverage technology, is to look at how it can also be leveraged in a not so positive side and taking advantage of our buyers. Data analytics, robotic process automations that keep asking you for the same information time and time again in quick succession so that resources are effectively managed. That's how we can leverage technology further for compliance. If I move to the next slide, which is my penultimate slide, is to speak to emerging risks. So we've talked about AI, I have. Geopolitical tensions, we've mentioned. Congratulations to all the Trump supporters, by the way. I hear that those in cryptocurrency, they are happy, rates are going up. As a Nigerian, the price of crude has dipped, so I'm skeptical. But just to say that things happen, and action in a country has multiple effects across other climes, across other, across things that affect you, right? You think it's happening in America, but it has a direct implication on you. These are emerging risks. Political instability and sanction, shifts in labor market dynamics, macroeconomic situation in Nigeria, which I mentioned earlier on, they are emerging risks, and they'll continue to grow in magnitude and complexity. The expectation is that we collaborate. We can't do it on our own as an organization, as a country, or even as the world. There's a need for us to work together. In closing, my last slide is just a couple of, quotes by people, some we know, some we don't, but I found very relevant, that great things in business are never done by one person. They are done by a team of people. Steve Jobs said that. Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. Helen Keller, who I admire, said that. The last I will speak to is collaboration allows us to know more than we are capable of knowing by ourselves. So once again, just to, in closing, say that we must collaborate for us to continue to exist. On that note, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much, Mrs. Esosa Balogun. That was a very powerful presentation, and looking at it from the telecommunications angle and then also from collaborations, which we know that is very important. We've always heard of the collective action theory, and it's been always put in by the Financial Action Task Force and other intergovernmental agencies and also national agencies. And the way you brought out the topic, the way you were able to expound on it, it was really the delivery and also the insightful knowledge sharing was really immense. So once again, please, we would like to clap for our distinguished speaker, Mrs. Esosa Balogun. That was really enticing. It was very practical with practical examples and case studies. So what we are moving into now is to go on the commercials to invite Mr. Roman. But before I say this, I want you to be a bit relaxed because we have the moment after this, we are going to go on a networking break. You can see a lot of distinguished, to have them in one room. This is an opportunity for the networking that is after this. And we also have a lot of distinguished speakers coming up. One of the retired directors from the Central Bank of Nigeria, and also the panelist discussion where you will see all the speakers in one side and they will discuss immensely, and you have the opportunity to also ask a lot of questions. So there's so much packed for us, and we won't take so much of time because we have been able to merge the panelist section into one section where we are able to break it down into two topics. So there's a lot that will be done at the same time. But before going into all that, we will go to call Mr. Ronnie, who is the MD of the Happiness Center, who is specialized in corporate stress management. We've spoken so much about compliance, but there's that part of the stress that comes with compliance. It's you know that it's not easy for the compliance officers, for the managers, the risk managers, for the frontline officers that are already giving all their best to do the needful. So without going into the management of stress, I don't think to be a complete discussion on this angle. So this is why we have to invite them to do this just for 5 minutes. Let us know so much about this, and then so we can proceed to the networking break. Thank you very much. It's glad to have you.
Thank you. Very good morning, everyone. So my takeaway from this session is that in order to overcome crime, you have to think like a criminal. Huh? In fact, you have to think more than a criminal. You know, one thing that I have noticed, of course, my name is Rami, and I originate from India as well. In India also financial crime is huge. Online frauds are huge. There is an entire Netflix series dedicated to one village in India that dedicates itself to financial crimes. Did you know this? There's a series called Jamtara on Netflix. So there are 2 seasons, and when you watch that series, you realize how much effort and innovation those people put into creating a way of fraud, a new way of fraud, right? See, we have one product, and we have to sell that product for the rest of our lives. But they create one product, that product goes defunct. They have to create another product, and they have to keep doing that to earn money. I'm not praising them, but you imagine the kind of innovation that we have to counter. And the ability of a person to be innovative and creative depends on how stress-free they are. There is this one boy, there must be one young boy who is an IT tech. He has a lot of money, he has the best gadgets. He has all the time in the world. He doesn't have to report to office, has a boss. He doesn't have a stress of work. He is simply drinking his Red Bull and thinking of how to do the next scam. Compare it to one of your employees coming to office. 3 hours in traffic in the morning. He has financial issues up to his head and above, his or her head and above. He comes to work, he has to look at sheets, Excel sheets, apply for budgets, wait to get the next computer. He might not even have the latest computer. or even have the latest version of Excel in his system. So we are competing with a very high level of criminality in this day and age. There are some things that we can see. I think 90% of the things we don't even know. Maybe, of course, the experts will share on that better. So, but what I have come to share is, you know, there are a few small techniques that you can use to innovate yourself mentally. See, all these ideas come from the mind, right? The best ideas in the world have originated from a human being. So how do we keep ourselves stress-free? So they often say that whenever you are stressed, take a breath, right? So let's actually take a breath. Yeah. So we have 5 minutes. So I would like you to join me in doing a very, very simple exercise, and you can observe how it changes your state of your mind. In just 2 minutes, you will notice that the shift in perspective can be so much. Okay? So can you keep your phones aside, please? Can you keep your phones aside? Keep your hands free. You can just turn to the person sitting next to you, just greet them, say hi, good morning. If you wish to, you can also compliment them. You can say how good they look, they have a very good smile. Yeah? Yeah. So innovation also comes when you are more comfortable. Yeah? That's why it's a nice culture to innovation, maybe compliment people. Okay? So now what we will do, if you have noticed, whenever we are sitting in one place, especially in a bank or when you're working in IT, you're sitting for a long time, right? So there is always restlessness in the body. Whenever there is restlessness, it doesn't allow the mind to work. So what we do before we meditate, we do some activity which removes the restlessness. So very simple technique, what we can do, can we take both our hands up this way? And just shake your hands. Shake your hands. Shake your hands really hard. Faster and faster. Both your hands. You can shake both your hands faster and faster and faster. Look at the people next to you. Are they doing the exercise? If they're not smiling, just remind them to smile. Yeah, faster and faster and faster, faster, faster. Take your hands up, faster and faster, faster. Back down. Shake, 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 shake. And relax, and you can keep your hands on your lap. Keep your hands on your lap. Your hands can be open towards the ceiling. Open towards the ceiling this way, yes. And let's close our eyes. Let's all close our eyes. If you notice, there are different rhythms to our breathing throughout the day. Notice the rhythm of your breath right now. Don't need to change the rhythm. Simply observe the rhythm of your breathing. The incoming breath gives the body energy, and the outgoing breath relaxes the body. Mindfully take a deep breath in. Take a deep, long breath. Hold the breath. And breathe out, making a sigh. Once again, breathe in. Hold the breath. And breathe out with a sigh. Notice the body relax when you breathe out. One last time. Breathe in again. Hold the breath. And breathe out. Notice the body relax. Keep your eyes closed. Take your attention to the weight of your body on the seat, on the chair. Whatever it is, 50, 70, 80 kilos, doesn't matter. Simply be aware of sitting on the chair and your feet are on the floor. Be aware of the weight of the feet on the floor take your attention to your feet. The calves, the shin, the knees, the thighs and the hips, the abdomen and the navel region, the stomach, the chest. Notice the chest moving with the breath. The right shoulder and the right arm. The left shoulder and the left arm. The neck and the throat. The face, the top of the head. And the whole body. Take another breath in and breathe out. The whole body. Once again, breathe in and breathe out. The whole body. And slowly, at your own pace, you may open your eyes. How was it? Do you notice the difference? A little shift. You know, IT repair is one of the biggest hoaxes created, you know. Most of the time, the only thing that's needed is to restart or reset the computer, right? Everything just figures itself out. Similarly, meditation is the way to just reset the mind, reset your thinking. So, you know, that's why we encourage short sessions in corporates throughout the day. You know, if you notice, there are certain times in the day when the employees are less productive. Especially in Nigeria, like a person leaving at 4 a.m. for work, at 10 a.m. there is a dip. Again at 2 p.m. there is a small dip. So if you don't cater, if you can introduce some sessions, some technique at that time, what happens is it improves their productivity. So just a little breathing, a little mindfulness, it makes them feel a little fresh. Don't you feel a little more alert, a little more relaxed, a little rested? So this technique, it is equal to taking a 30-minute nap, what you just did. So of course you can't sleep in the office, right? So we teach this technique that you can just do sitting down at your desk. You can just put your phone on silent. Anytime you feel a little stress, just these 2 minutes, trust me, your next few hours will be much more creative and innovative. So we call the Happiness Center. We are a wellness center. We practice Indian traditional medicine, and we also corporates deal with inefficiencies at the workplace by introducing some techniques that naturally inspires people to be more energetic, creative, and efficient. Thank you so much for your time, and you can connect with us. We are on Instagram. We call the Happiness Center. Thank you, and enjoy your session today.
Thank you so much. That was really, really good and so helpful. I could feel the energy within me in terms of relaxation. And also, I believe everyone that's actually participating at this event could also feel that particular energy, and it's well needed, especially for all the work that is being done. So just to go to a break of 10 minutes for, we call it a networking break, just, move around so that we can enter into the next session. We will have one more speaker, distinguished speaker, and then we have the panelist session and then a few more things, and that's it. So it's going to really be insightful, but just take advantage of the networking break. It's an opportunity to just move around and network and meet the really experts around, and also other people within the field of compliance in the financial industry. So thank you very much. Let's come back in 10 minutes and look forward to seeing you. Thanks.